Welcome back. You're watching Uongozi today. This is the tail end of the program right now. Now, the APK party leader Eugene Wamalwa wants the Mount Kenya region to stop lamenting about the Kenya Kwanza regime and instead start plotting how to kick it out in 2027. Speaking on Thursday at the party headquarters in Nairobi while receiving a coalition document from Mount Kenya leaders, Wamalwa claimed President William Ruto deserves to be one-term president, citing rampant corruption, increased taxes, the high cost of living, and runaway government expenditure. Wamalwa, a serious critic of the Kenya Kwanza regime, also faulted the president for the cost of his trip to the United States, asking the Mount Kenya voting bloc to work with other regions to ensure Ruto does not win a second term.
Okay, all right. Yes.
We want Bwana Ruto to declare, because when you receive a gift, mimi ni mwanasheria, ukipata zawadi, sheria requires ya kwamba you declare that gift. Ni hawa kina nani marafiki wamemlipia hiyo ndege? Na mbona uende upate marafiki huko Dubai na wewe una ndege ya Kenya Airways? And we want to tell Bwana Ruto, please, what you have done is very unpresidential. It is very unpresidential, and Kenyans deserve a better explanation. If you made a mistake, the least you can do is apologize. Sasa leo nikisikia kilio kwa mlima, na wako wanalia, si chairman wa council wametuambia wanalia, tunasema wakati umefika muache kulia, you should stop whining and we start winning. Winning starts by building a network and a team that will send Zakayo home.
We said after the resolutions that are contained here, is it then possible for us to go out, reach out to other communities so that we can come together and deal with the problems that are facing this country as one?
All right, stop whining and start preparing to win. Professor Kindiki, maybe we can begin with you. Are you repining and whining and griping? What is your reaction?
I don't think whether that is the situation. There is much to do in the government rather than dining and whining. Again, that is an assumption.
I think it's whining.
Is it whining?
Whining.
Whining. Not whining, not dining and whining.
I thought they are dining and whining.
Yes, this is the Mzekope effect on you.
But Mzekope lives for 101 years.
I understand. I thought we are making merry, we are happy about it, but like I said, you are talking about the crying in the or complaints in the Mount Kenya region. So I don't think whether that is the situation again, because the Mount Kenya region looks at Kenya politics in a different way, maybe other communities may look at, because you remember at the initial stages after independence, the first president came from, the first president of the Republic of Kenya came from Central Kenya. And looking at the population, the advantage and the opportunities they had at that time has continued and continue to be maintained to date in terms of being ahead of other communities. And I think what is troubling the region is that who will be the next president? I think that is the big question on looking at overall generalization of the challenges that are there in Mount Kenya. Right now, as we talk, Mount Kenya region doesn't have a part of its own. And you remember, if we want to go into communities, Rift Valley, they have their own party, URP, which joined with TNA, became Jubilee, then Jubilee was dissolved. Then the Kenya Kwanza, government came in. They have their own party, and you see the two communities, the Rift Valley, people in the Rift Valley and the Central have always under the opportunity of getting the presidency in this country. So the overall view and the outlook, why there is that kind of political instability, not really that they are rioting or whatever, but they feel they are not stable or insecurity, may use the word insecurity. They feel that they are not politically secure because they do not have really a proper guidelines on how they are going to the general elections 2027, which will be very crucial for 2032. I think that's where they are trying to map out. And the kind of, concerns that are there in the opposition, they are trying now to woo Mount Kenya and see the Mount Kenya people maybe could join the opposition and they form, they form the next government. So for me, Mount Kenya region, in some way, it's going to dictate who become the next president. If you hear what the opposition are saying, it's like whatever they are planning, they would like to sell the same idea to other communities and join them at the end 2027 so that they prepare for 2032. And for sure, I've seen one of the opposition leaders saying that the current president will be there for one term. I don't think whether that is true. Again, looking at the precedent that has been put since the new constitution, President Kibaki and his 10 years, President Uhuru Kenyatta and 10 years, going with that precedent, Ruto is going to have another 10 years. But possibly, if 2032 they want another president, that's something of discussion, of conversation at another level. But I think people are free to hear their views because Kenya is a democratic country.
Is there any formation of a new party by the deputy president as is being projected?
There is no, as far as I know, there is no new party. But these are just street talks. People talking of, so and so wants to join that party, that politician, that party, and even the deputy president has been, indicated that he is searching for another. I look at the media and there's all these kind of suggestions. And again, there's nothing official that has, taken place to say that Mount Kenya have this particular
So you chalk
party.
it up to just street talk?
This is just, I think these are just talk. But you see, street talks also becomes very important. They become official at some point because people talk in the street and they gather ideas and somebody who wants to be a leader, gets it and it carries the day. So what people are talking is what they feel it's happening in the mountain and the central region.
So all is well in Mount Kenya?
All is well so far.
All is well.
All is well, except one thing. I started saying that they are looking forward to these are success. I would say these are early succession politics. Who will be the president after the current president? But not at 2027. They are looking at 2032. But people will say, oh, 2027, we will do this. But you have something to sell, something selling, so that you get the crowd to come around you. And I'm saying, looking at the precedent that has been there, it is obvious that the current president is also going for another 10 years, although they are not telling people. But
Thank you.
It's likely to go that way.
Right. Let us hear from Professor Rapkiro.
Yeah, Dibal, this topic, I realize it is in two parts. One part is the wrangles in Kenya Kwanza, where it is seen like the deputy president and his boss are not working together. And this, of course, is worrying all of us, even those who are not in the party, because we believe it is becoming a culture in Kenya that the president does not work very well with his deputy for the entire period of their election victory. And why am I raising that concern? The two of them come from different communities, just like the pair that was there before the current regime. And because we still are people who believe in our communities as the central point of coalition, it creates disharmony between where the deputy president comes from and where the president does come from. That creates a bit of worry in Kenya, and people spend a lot of time. Today, if you went to Rift Valley and listened to the community that the president comes from, they are worried. Likewise, around the mountain, I'm sure they're equally worried. Where's the future of their son? Because we've come to believe that people elected into offices represent us, regardless of whether their opinion or their orientation is with us. So that's one debate that personally I would really encourage the two to work together. It is useful. You may disagree on the eve of elections of 2027, and that is allowed politically. But in the intervening period, it is useful for the country, for the two to work together. And I beseech the president, if he has been wronged by the deputy, to forgive him. And the deputy also, if he feels that the president has allowed some people around himself to fight him, he should forget about that, because the election is a constitutional matter. Nothing can remove the deputy president from office unless there is an impeachment. And the impeachment must also have valid reasons why it should be removed. I feel, because I listen to both sides of the spectrum, and I realize there is a lot of disquiet. So that's one issue. The second issue is the Limuru 3, which is now creating a lot of debate around Mount Kenya. And it's valid debate, because if we don't have a discourse between now and the next election, what is the agenda that we are presenting to the people of Kenya? That discourse, in my opinion, is useful, and every other community should also have similar discourse, because, as I said, we are still tribal society that we need to manage that diversity. Because a Nandi that I am does not make me better than Barak Muluka just because he comes from another community. I must appreciate the community he comes from as certain positive values that I can borrow, and they can also borrow certain positive values from my side. But my advice to the people of Limuru 3 and those who will have subsequent meetings in various parts of this country is that let us have national conversation. If it's about taxes, how do we show a nexus between taxes and the rest of Kenya? How do we show the nexus about the budgeting provisions under the current constitution and how we want them to be done? Whether it is one man, 1 shilling, 1 vote, that discourse is useful, but we should not do it without looking keenly into the parameters. Population, yes, it is important, but there are also other factors. Some places where there could be 100,000 people, just like a small village in Trans Nzoia, maybe those 100,000 people are living more than 1,000 kilometers apart. And they are also, so the landmass has to be a factor. Historical injustices must also be a factor, so that we think of Kenya in a more holistic way. I don't stay in Trans Nzoia and I say population should only be the factor. When I know in West Pokot, which, as you know, is 2.5 times the size of Trans Nzoia, and their population is a half the size of Trans Nzoia. So how do we harmonize in a way that those two counties, which are neighboring each other, with similar but also dissimilar conditions, are able to say we are getting a fair deal from the national budget? These are discussions that we should engage in to look national, both in thinking, in character, and in outlook.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let's hear from Dr. Green.
There is need for our country to speak in one voice. The noise that we are hearing has been the norm for many years during a time like this where people are planning for the next elections. We need to portray hope for this nation. The youth are looking up to the older generation. What are we offering them? As we speak about these things, which seem to be very important at the moment, we need to reconsider what jobs are we giving to our own people. When there is disintegration at the political level, just like in South Africa, the economy is affected. People lose lives. People lose hope, and there is nothing as difficult as dealing with people who do not have hope. The sooner our leaders in either divide realize the importance of uniting the nation and leaving out their personalized approach to issues, the better we can be as a nation. The challenge is that even as I speak, even as we speak, there are those who have already formed an idea of what you want to say or what you want to be, as opposed to the bigger issue that we need to look out to get our nation better. You know, we tend to forget, and there is a clip that I shared last week and was shared just by the men's breakfast. Do you imagine that in 100 years, say 100 years will be in 21, 24. Do you know anything that you own, including the car that you drive, will be owned by somebody that you don't have an idea who they are? The things that we own and we seem to be fighting for will be owned by others. We will have nothing. Even our children will be suffering, maybe in some cases, when we have not done all these things. It's vanity. We need to drive our ideas, our vision, with the future in our mind. What is it that we are living for our own people? We leave a better nation, our generation will enjoy. And I like what has been said a number of times, that there is no better Kenya without successful counties. There is no, therefore, better individual without a better family. We need to refocus. We need to change our minds, because we are so individualistic. As you speak here, you already been focused to be talking in a certain direction. Who are you working for? Who are you? And there is nobody who is working without anybody in mind. We need to change this as a nation. We need to start doing, as a police officer, what am I doing that is going to change this nation? Our security apparatus, just because of increasing the number of patrols in the city of Nairobi, 10% of criminals and criminal activities have come down. What is this that we are doing just to add value to my family? Because if my family is better, I'm a better individual and therefore a better country. We just need to refocus as a nation. We are too much individualistic. The fights that you're seeing, running a political party is not easy, because you start and others start at the same time. You are sitting and they are planning to unseat you, even as they look at you directly in your eyes. But then that is the individualistic approach. We want to get into where you are, as opposed to making the cake better. The discussion on Muguka in our country, the solution is not banning or not banning. The solution is to get more jobs, to get the economy to be better, manufacturing to be much better. Then we will have more of our youth not doing things that they are not supposed to be doing. That is the approach that I sincerely suggest, and for God's glory, that we should not be doing things just because we want to gain ourselves. What we are seeing either in political parties, what we are seeing in UDA, what we are seeing in our nation, is where we are wondering, what is there for me? At the expense of the local mwananchi, who is going through a lot of pain, and they need to be given hope so that we can get into a better
But if I may ask more pointedly towards your party as well, you're working with Kenya Kwanza, isn't it? And there is this suggestion that we should collapse party, we create one super mega party. I know we've talked about this before, but it seems now it's coming close or cutting close home, because we have parties like ANC, which now is folding to join the bigger party UDA. Conversations actually are underway as far as that is concerned. What is the position of JITA?
This is exactly what I'm talking about. Parties are institutions on their own. The discussion that is now going on is about election of officials and formalizing institutions of the party. Our party as JITA has enjoyed the membership, unprecedented membership of youth in this country. In fact, last month I was being given a report by the team members, an influx of membership.
Dr. I'm asking
I'm
more
getting to where you want to get. You be patient. So this kind of an approach, building the house it's from the individual position. We are not talking of UDA, we are talking of other parties. And our party is firm in what it's supposed to be, not about to be collapsed or in any way. There is no issue that we have internally about the leadership and election. We have advanced in many ways. You have seen the bills that have been presented to Parliament about the help. The chairman of the party is doing all these things. Every party runs on its own, and every party has got its own principles. We are not about the Kenya Kwanza partnership or any other partnership. We are supposed, and I insist, parties are the stronghold of holding the nation into a hopeful future. The discussions that we have been having in this country is wrong discussion. It's wrong discussion. It should not and never should be about coalitions. It should be about the party policies, the ideals that will strengthen the party. But we have degenerated to a point that we want to ask, which party are you on, which institution? It should be about policies and what the country should be run. That discussion of which party is part of which coalition should come to an end. That is the future that we are supposed to be headed for. And we are using government money, and that is what should be able to be accounted for.
Right. Let's hear from Dr. Barak Luka.
Yes, what's the question?
Regarding the party coalition, what the wrangles between what is happening within the UDA, Kenya Kwanza, that is what we're talking about if you're listening.
Okay. First, we see that the deputy president was in the Rift Valley. And when he got to the Rift Valley, he had carried with him a message, ostensibly for the people of the Rift Valley. And he was telling them to leave the mountain alone because the politics of the mountain are very complex. They cannot manage them. And he used the imagery of matrimony and told them, leave somebody's wife alone. And he went on to say, and we want to tell you, the people of Rift Valley, to also respect us. I believe he was using that platform as a sounding board to send a message to his boss. He was not speaking to the ordinary people of the Rift Valley. In fact, he gravitated quite close to the space around His Excellency the President when he said that there are a couple of people who are close to the President and who do not respect him and do not respect the mountain. So that does indicate that, number one, there's a problem between the two excellencies, Excellency the President and Excellency the Deputy President. And we saw a bit of that in the body language yesterday at the prayer meeting when the semiosis indicated that they were not their usual selves. But that does speak to a bigger question within the mountain. My good neighbor here, the professor, has mentioned something that he calls street talk. And I want to agree with him that the genesis of all this is street talk. I know street talk is that thing which sometimes you hear people saying, kwa ground ni different. Kwa ground ni different. The one which even Jesus Christ recognized, to the extent that he pulled aside 3 of his disciples and asked them, kwa ground kukoaje? What are the people saying? Who am I? What are they saying about me? That is the essence of that thing that you call street talk. And the street talk in the mountain is that the street talkers, the wananchi wa kawaida, the people in the street, are not happy. They're not happy because the mountain has got its bar, its economic and social bar, which it has set. And you cannot blame it for having its bar, saying that these are our expectations as the people of the mountain in any dispensation or for any dispensation, and they are not seeing it. And so if they are not seeing it, they have got to ask themselves, why is it that we are not operating at the level which we expect to be operating as a region? They're likely to say it's because of the government of the day and the way development is being distributed, and we would like to have some more, like Oliver Twist, and let us go to Limuru to have a meeting, and in that meeting they can agree that they want to have a president. You see, it's logical that every conversation that you're going to engage in must begin from where you are. It would be absurd to expect that the people of the Mount Kenya region would start their conversation by thinking about what is best for the people of Emmanuel, where I was born and brought up, yeah? They must begin by thinking about what is good for them. And by the same token, as we have said before, I think Mheshimiwa Kipruto Kirwa has alluded to this, other people, wherever they may be, can also begin having their own conversations on what is good for them. But as you have that conversation, for heaven's sake, understand that there are other people in the country and that all these conversations must have a point of convergence. And at this point of convergence, it's going to be give and take, the minimum versus the maximum. What is the minimum that we can accept? What is the maximum that we can give away? And ultimately, it becomes a question of averages. And in that conversation, you start asking questions like, who is going to lead us to the conversation table? Is it the deputy president? Is it Didi Nyoro? Is it Moses Kuria? Is it Mwagi Kiujuri? Who is it going to be? And Professor here seems to forget that there are very many parties, if we look at it from Emmanuel. There are many mountain parties, and we get a little puzzled in Emmanuel when we hear that the mountain does not have its own political party. In fact, it has a plethora of political parties. There's NAK Kenya, there's Chama cha Kazi, there's Mbahas, there's a Kiunjuri party, and all these are mountain parties. And these mountain parties must have their own conversation and agree. And having agreed, they can come forth and meet us. And that is where, therefore, these wrangles are coming from, because of the bars of expectations. If you find a place where there's no bar of expectation, then it's either that those people have become Alice in Wonderland, they don't know what is happening. Even in Western, where we have been asleep for a very long time, we now have got our own Tawe movement. Tawe means, Mheshimiwa Kalua, it means no. When you're saying enough is enough. Tawe, hwachonyere, tumechoka. Sasa tunataka na sisi pia tuzungumze. Nyinyi mkizungumza kule kwenye milima, waungwana wa milimani, mjue kwamba kuna mahali ambapo tutakutana, tuzungumzie hapo kwa pamoja. And dialogue of this kind is good, it's healthy, provided that people are not talking about annihilating others. If they say we want one man, one vote, 1 shilling, please let them explain what their thinking is. Do not demonize it. Do not satanize it and say this is a bad. Where are they coming from? What is the logic? Then you can also come up with your own other logic, because really from a very basic logical perspective, if there's a constituency with 500,000 population, and there's another constituency with 40,000 or 50,000, it does not seem logical to say that you are going to apportion to them equal measures of the development package. But it's also possible that if you use the other method, you are likely to oppress these constituencies where they are 50. So let's listen to one another. Do not tell people to shut up, that they are being tribal, that they are being oppressive. You must start with yourself, and then you can move on to accommodate others.
Thank you. I wanted just to also indicate to a professor here that I don't know, maybe if you're privy to the fact that there's a conversation around you losing Meru as a county's name. And I thought also Mheshimiwa Nandi also will not be a name as well. There's a suggestion. There is Tharaka Nithi, there is Kisii as well, Embu. There is West Pokot. Yeah. So is there any sentimental value? Do you feel like sort of you lose your space or your direction or your true north will actually be, striking every which way in terms of finding direction if you lose Meru, the name Meru County? What are the implications? Is there any sentimental value?
Well, first of all, I want to correct the impression that before I come to the names of counties, the impression that Central Kenya or Mount Kenya region do not have a party. What I mean here is that they do not have a unifying party. There could be several parties.
So you indicated that you have a plethora of parties.
Yes, but we have not come together and say this is the party we are going within, and that's what happens in the mountain. As he talks, I agree with him 100% that these talks must converge somewhere, and that convergence point, that's when now people are going to decide we are going to the elections using this party. So that's why there are those kind of debates. So I know there are not in Kenya, there is a Mangikujuli's party and others, but they are going to converge. And then we have one formidable party to meet, to work with other parties in other communities so that now they come together to face the general elections. I think that should be very clear.
So there's no collapse in Winnick Party to join UDA, which is the quest of UDA.
Well, we are not talking of now the Kenya Kwanza. Kenya Kwanza, okay. I think it's good for them to work the way we are now because that's how we voted for this government. But we are talking of 2032, not 2027.
All right.
It's 2032,
okay.
Not 2027.
All right.
So anyway, coming to the names of the counties,
yes.
Briefly, I don't know who is the complainant, but I think it's the National Integration Cohesion Commission. They are the ones who have come up with that idea of changing the names of counties that are identifying with a particular people. Remember, the name, for example, Meru. The Meru is their Ameru people. They speak Kimeru and they are Meru people. The white man or the Europeans did not know how to bring small groups in Meru. Meru is not composed of one group called Meru, but internally we have small groups in Meru. They are small groups. And when the Europeans came, they could get this one speaks this one, but small slight differences here, and then they say this is a Meru. That is the Meru County. Tharaka Nithi County has history. Why it's called Tharaka Nithi County? Because I can speak for both authoritatively. Tharaka Nithi County, Nithi is the river Nithi that divides, goes across some small groups in the county. And when now we were forming the counties, it was very difficult, not counties but districts. That time it was district, because it was called Tharaka Nithi District, then it became Tharaka Nithi County. So when we were forming the district, it was very difficult to take the name of one community and say this district or this county now, for now is county, will be named after this community. So they took the name Nithi. Nithi is a river. And then Tharaka is a smaller community on the slopes of Mount Kenya, who are part of the three main communities in the county. So the Tharaka people say, no, we would like to emulate like the way we want, because they have been sidelined for a very long time in terms of development, in terms of what, other social amenities reaching the people. So they're saying we want to be noted that we are also in existence. And so I remember that time there were those debates, and I was following them. I was not one of them, but I was very, very interested in politics of the day at that time. And then they said, we have even counties like Taita Taveta. Taita Taveta is composed of Taveta and the Taita communities. Why can't we have the Tharaka? And then our colleagues in the Chuka, Mudambe, they say, no, we cannot agree. We can't call it Chuka Tharaka or Tharaka Chuka. We will call it Tharaka Nithi. Nithi is the river, taking and bringing the two communities in the upper region together. So the people from Tharaka Nithi County, I know there is a group of people who are saying, we want to be called Meru South. We don't want Tharaka Nithi County. It is it has a community or tribal connotation when you call it Tharaka, because Tharaka is a community, Tharaka Nithi. And there's a huge debate about that. And the people from the low parts of the county, the Tharaka people, refuse. They say, no, we want to be identified as Tharaka Nithi County or Tharaka Nithi District then. I think this is going to raise a lot of debates. I don't know the conversation, how it will go. But there's likelihood of reminding people of the past, which is not necessary as we are now, because the people themselves right now, if you go to Meru County, I have not heard anybody complaining that we are called Merus and therefore we want to change our name to read like Imenti, Tigania, because that one will bring more complications than solving it, because people from those communities will rise up and say, oh, if that's the case, we also want to be identified as a county. And they are very small, very tiny, very tiny groups. So I think let it remain the way it is for now until when there will be need for that discussion, if at all the residents of those counties are complaining.
All right, it appears there's a need, according to national cohesion integration. Let's say from Kipruto, you ready to lose Nandi?
I'm a Nandi from Trans Nzoia.
Oh, from Trans Nzoia, okay,
yes, I'm a Nandi from Trans Nzoia. But it does not strike a lot of emotional output for me to spend more time discussing whether Nandi district or county should be there or not. I think what we need to do is to go to the fundamentals. The Nandi people do exist, and they are different from the people from Emmanuelia. We are unique in our own ways. But that uniqueness does not confer us any special status. And as I've always held, we need to ask ourselves, what is it that we can do to make sure that there is more national integration? National unity for me is a notch below national integration, because national integration means we are accepting each other the way we are, the way the late Tom Mboya said. We have to embrace what we call positive tribalism. Positive in the sense that each community has certain unique pride or issues they pride in, that they must continue being there. And calling it Meru County or changing to another name does not make them less tribal than they are. And removing the name does not improve anything in Meru. And I strongly believe, let these names be, but let us look at what is the core issue that is dividing us. And the core issue is resources, because each place needs more resources for purpose of development. The other core issue is issues of leadership. Each community wants to aspire to the highest position of leadership in Kenya, but we already have impediments because the two communities, the Kalenjin, which is also an amalgam of many tribes, and the Gema, which is also another amalgam of many tribes. I hear now they want even to bring the Akamba into that equation. But is there anything unique about these communities to provide the presidents for the last 60 years? There's nothing unique. It is because we are balkanized in the country. What we need to do is to improve our thinking, right from primary education, so that we inculcate positive values of being a Kenyan. But today, anything that we talk about, Dr. Kalua here, Dr. Green here, will be defensive if anything about the Kamba nation is discussed. Why? Because for him it is natural. Professor Kindiki will be so livid if you are to say anything negative about Meru, instead of looking at whether it is right or wrong. The guy from Amanyulia, Dr. Barak Muluka, when you talk of the Luya nation, he will tell you Tawe if you are saying something contrary to the opinion that he holds. So my request is that let the leadership of the day today imbibe in us positive values of being a Kenyan. Let the school curriculum start by ensuring that a child from primary realizes he's a Kenyan and there is something unique about being a Kenyan. In that way, we'll allow people to talk less of the tribe. But changing the name of a county does not change anything. If our DNA is still that I'm a Nandi, and therefore being a Nandi, I'm better than a Bukusu. It doesn't change anything, because I'm just a funny guy calling himself a Nandi, and perhaps my origin may not be fully Nandi. All these children that we find in our homes, who is their father? Their father is known by the mother.
Enough said.
Let's hear from Dr. Kalua. Yeah, because I think also from we've not seen a Kamba, but from your end it will be the Dallas, Texas. But there's no Dallas, Texas
I'm
there.
lucky, and I really thank God. You know, by the way, not many of you know that I am born and bred in Texas. I actually was
you
born
look
in
Texan.
Texas,
Then Dallas.
Texas.
In Dallas, Texas, or in the
Texas. I was born actually in Texas. Texas City. You know, Texas City is that place past Mexico, where Mexico is Machacos. So
that's why we're saying Dallas.
it's a little further, you know.
There's a Dallas, Texas there.
You know what I mean? But it's very interesting to belong. It's very important.
Yeah.
The only thing that we need to evaluate since independence up to date, what does that sense of belonging mean to us? What has it added to the national cohesion? I wake up every day to either make my motorcycles at Honda, or make helmets, or make vehicles, or plant and grow trees, and the businesses, the entrepreneurship that I am part of. I respect institutions. If you ask me any of those things that I do, I know them at my fingertips, because I have been a businessman or an entrepreneur since I was age 19. It's more than 34 years today. Okay, and anything that I know is about entrepreneurship. I respect institutions. That recommendation is coming from an institution of cohesion, and that is tagged with values in this country. Sometimes we talk at things from the top of it. We need to investigate what is it that they want to drive. And whatever must be done in this country to bring us together, Debal, let us have it done. We have remained behind for so long. And I will end with something very interesting. And I don't know why I'm driven to say this today, but I say it with God's heart and with humility. I carry very expensive pens.
I noticed. More blue.
Very expensive. Okay?
It's more blue.
Not because I have money. Not because I have money. Not because I want to show off. It's a message that was given to me by my father when I was leaving secondary school to go to my primary school to go to secondary school. He told to me in Kikamba, "Mwana, wekwetie kalamu." Kalamu kalangi onake kambesa mbingeata katela langi de bade. My son, I have hope in you, like a pen. However expensive a pen is, without ink, it is nothing. I value those words to the core. That I carry a pen that I remember when I speak, whoever is listening to me has hope in me like a pen. If we as Kenyans, everyone believed that everyone has hope in each other, like a pen, and how useful ink in a pen is supposed to be, so is our character to each other. That is what is going to help us to change our country. Not just about the name.
Thank you.
And whatever it costs, if it is changing the Ukambani region to one name, if it is changing another, let it be for the good and common good for each one of us.
Thank you.
We are like a pen, an expensive pen. Without ink, zero. And before God, even bigger zero.
Indeed, indeed.
That's very,
Baraka, briefly, even as we are winding up. Yes.
Lyrical. But you know, I was also born in America, in Idaho. Yeah.
Idaho State.
Not Ikolomani.
Idaho State.
Idaho State.
The land of gold. Now, you see, we are opening the Pandora box. And once you start this thing that the Cohesion and Integration Commission is bringing up, we cannot even tell where it is going to end. There are names which are hidden, significances that are hidden. My own home county is called Kakamega, and I don't think it's one of those that they have listed. Yeah. But if you come back home, we will tell you that there are people whom we call Avakakamega. And Avakakamega are the Idaho and Isuha people. So you're waking up some sleeping giants, some consciousness that people do not want to deal with. If you go to Bungoma, for example, it's not one of those counties that have been listed. But even that name and that location has got its historical origins. Some will tell you that Bungoma is a place where Bukusu elders used to meet and they would beat the drum, Engoma, to call people to come to that meeting of elders. But others will tell you that the community called the Bungomek, Bungomek, who are basically a Sabaoti Kalenjin people, occupied that space and they were pushed out by the Bukusu. So which of those two versions do we go with? Should we retain the name Bungoma or not? And you can come down even to constituencies, you can come down to counties. My home location, for example, is called Kisa Central. There are specific people who are called Abashisa. There are people who are called Marama and so on. So
we have to wind up.
Let's not go into that space.
Right.
Strong.
Let's leave it at that. Of course, also Taita Taveta, my director is from that particular region as well, and she's telling me it's time to go. Right, the Wadawida also, they are on the list. So Taita Taveta will change their name. Yeah, we need to have this discussion more robustly so that we can see what sort of Pandora's box are we opening with the National Cohesion Integration Commission with that suggestion that they should scrap 10 counties, which are, of course, you say they're joking.
Yeah, they need to.
Or we need to go. I'm not even giving you a chance to close it. Any closing remarks?
What needs to be done must be done to bring the nation together.
Thank you. Thank you. Very insightful. We'll pick it up next week, of course, and look keenly on that. Or maybe even have Reverend Kobia here on the panel so that he can tell us where they're coming up with this particular idea as well. Thank you very much for your valued company. You've been watching Uongozi today.